Hey everyone, welcome to RotoWire Fantasy Football Live. Starts at stream number 2 of the weekend, Sunday, week 10, getting at it. Halftime of the Colts, Patriots. Imagine this, another under, 10 points scored in the first half. It's hard to bet these unders because you know they're going to hit, but then it's like you're just like stunned the games are this low scoring, and it's like the book can't set the numbers low enough. I think it started like 42, and that was like really high. I thought this game should have been like 36, but it looks like they're not even close. Anyway, Jonathan Taylor, 13 for 42 and a touchdown. Pittman's okay, 4 for 37. Hopefully you didn't start Josh Downs. Maybe he has a second half, but with that knee injury, not practicing all week, he gets that big catch for 12 yards at the end. Minshew not doing much through the air, 118. Mac Jones getting sacked 5 times in the first half. That line is brutal. I keep mentioning that. Stevenson, 8 for 25 and 2 for 9 in the air. Demario Douglas is okay, 3 for 45, but that's about it. Just rough, just very, very rough. This offense and offensive line, just they can't get much going, and it's not looking like it's going to get any better anytime soon. All right, let's get some questions here. We got Trey. Good morning to you as well. If Chase were to sit, would you favor Geno over Burrow? You know, Geno has big upside. I mean, Geno lays eggs a lot, but I mean, there's going to be no pass rush. Chase Young and Montez Sweat are gone, and that's the problem with their line. The tackles can't hold up in pass pro, but they can in this game. And it's going to be hard to run them. They still got Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen in the middle. So, I mean, and the receivers have massive advantages. Geno's a good play. I mean, how low can the floor actually be? I mean, he has to do something here. And Burrow, I don't know what the ceiling can be. I mean, if Chase doesn't play, I mean, at some point, you don't have weapons, and how high is your upside? So I kind of would go Geno over Burrow in that case. Look, if Geno's ever going to do it, it's this week. This is the week I've circled for him. This is his week. Ray Dell, morning to you as well. Sit 1 of 3. Dell, Hollywood Brown, Deontay Johnson. You know what? It's Hollywood we're playing. I think he gets 10 targets there. Now, Deontay Johnson gets you usually about 15 PPR points almost every game. I think he's a little lower this week because George Pickens was really complaining up a storm, and I think he's going to get extra targets in this game, and it might knock a couple off of Johnson, but Johnson still has a high floor. Dell, this can be interesting because remember, Dell has a couple 100-yard games. He has a 70, but then he's got some games in the teens, a couple with 30s. So he's the ultimate boom bust guy. And look, Nico Collins is out. My guess is Lou Anarumo is going to game plan for Dell. Stop him from big plays, and what do they have left? Noah Brown. I know he had the game against Tampa, but who cares about Noah Brown? And Dalton Schultz, fine, whatever. So my guess is Dell's your boom bust. Yeah, he can make the big play. Johnson's way safer. So if you need a big game, then you hope Dell has that crazy game that comes out of, nowhere. Last week, the Bucs just couldn't cover anybody. Johnson's safer. But Dell is your boom bust. If you got to swing for defense, then you go Dell. But otherwise, you want the layup. Johnson's still going to get enough in this game. He probably still gets 5 catches for 60 yards. Jim Menke. All right. Hey to you. Heineke, Dobbs, or Carr for quarterback. I'm a little worried about Carr this week on the road. A lot of blitz. He doesn't do well under pressure. That line, the interior line, hasn't been good. Heineke is always scary, but the matchup's good. But they might be able to run on Arizona, and they might not need to throw a lot. This is a game where they can get their running game on track. Dobbs is a horrible matchup in that same game with Carr, but Dobbs probably runs for some yardage. So I think the floor play is actually Dobbs because I think he runs for 40 yards. The boom bust play, I do think, is going to be Heineke here. That's the boom bust play because if they have to take to the air against Arizona, I don't see them stopping them. There's not much of a pass rush. Get Drake London back. So Heineke's your ceiling guy. And I don't know that Dobbs has a high enough floor in this one. Jamar Chase is expected to play on the NFL Network, it says. So there's that right now. So that's important to understand. Now, I don't know if he's going to be a decoy. I don't know his status, but that's important to understand. But so maybe maybe Heineke would just be worth it because Dobbs' floor isn't that great, and Heineke is going to have a floor. So I might go with him in that one. Ray Dell, Carr or Murray? You heard me talking about Carr and the road matchup and the blitz. I'm going to go with Murray. It's first game back. There's some boom bust. But you know what? You got Hollywood Brown. You can screen to James Conner. I don't know what his running's going to be like, but it's more than Derek Carr, right? I'm going to go with Murray in that one. Delroy. Oh, it's 10. I got to open up Instagram. Let me open up Instagram here, and then we'll get some other folks in here too. All right, Delroy, half PPR. Lawrence or Deshaun Watson? So Lawrence, it's like he has like 18 to 22 fantasy points in all but one game. And he's like consistent. No ceiling, but a great floor. And I don't see the 49ers holding that floor now. He's got weapons. Even though Ridley hasn't done much, he's got Kirk, he's got ETN as a receiver, he's got Ingram, although 49ers are going to get tight ends. But Watson, this Ravens matchup, it's a problem. It's a real problem for him. So I think Lawrence's floor is good because I don't know that Watson can have a ceiling game here. So that's what I'm kind of looking at here. All right, Delroy, you got half PPR. Trent Irwin, Josh Reynolds, or Khalil Shakir. So Shakir and Irwin both have good floors. Reynolds is better when the Lions play a team that plays heavy man defense. They tend to use him more. Against zone, they tend to get the ball more to Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and we're going to see a lot of zone from the Chargers. So I'm going to rule Ed Reynolds out. Shakir and Irwin have very similar floors. And if Chase is playing, see, Boyd is going to have Tavir Thomas, the great in-slot cornerback on him. That's a bad matchup. So I have Irwin going for about 70, 80 yards. I won't put that projection in writing because you don't project Irwin for 80 yards. I put him in the real projection for 50, 55. But I do think there's a real world he gets 80. But Shakir has been in that ballpark too. And against Denver, Diggs is hurting a little bit. He's going to play, but he's not 100%. I think it's 50-50 between Shakir and Irwin. I think Irwin has a better chance of scoring a touchdown. I'm going to give Irwin a 51-49 edge over Shakir on that one. Instagram's get a couple questions here as well. Welcome aboard, everybody. Happy you're here. Thanks for making me part of your football routine here. And if I don't get your question, hang tight, okay? I get to them, but it's going to take a little time. We always got questions in the hopper. A. Schlesinger, 1-2-3. Trevor Lawrence or Kyler Murray? So I said earlier, Murray kind of a boom bust because first game back, new offense. We don't know how much he'll run. So there's that. And so we're nervous about that. Lawrence has that floor. They're playing in San Francisco, but he's going to get you 17, 18 fantasy points. And it's probably not going to be a lot more, but that's probably where he gets it. If you need a boom bust play, though, then go with Murray because Murray does have big ceiling. If he's able to run and get things, at least he has a big game against Atlanta in him, but there's a lot of uncertainty in his first game back. And I'm crapping out on Instagram again. It's been normal. All right. I'm going to go back as soon as I unfreeze there. All right, I unfroze her. So A. Schlesinger again. Murray's your boom bust, and Trevor Lawrence is your floor play. And then Ray Barry, Kittle or Hill. So this is tough because I always say never bench Kittle. The bad games are coming, but there is no predictability to them. He can have a bad game at any time. He can blow up at any time. Kittle can have glorious 3 touchdown games. But Hill has had at least 18 fantasy points in 4 straight games. And until they stop using him, you got to assume his floor is so much better than Kittle's. 4 straight games, that's a body of work right now, right? And Hill has ceiling. So honestly, the way it's going, it's hard for me to give any tangible reason to sit Hill. I wish there's a way you could play both. If you could flex one and play the other, I would totally recommend that. All right. Lauren's in the house. Welcome. And then you asked that one already. Again, if you ask your question, I will get to it. Please don't ask it multiple times. It'll just kind of gum things up, but I will get to you. It may take some time though. Lots of people come in here. Good people on Sundays get their questions answered. PNLB, Purdy or Murray? So Purdy should have a stable floor in this game. I see him about 18 to 20 fantasy points. He may get a couple more. So I think he's your safe play, but if you're going to need 25, 30, Murray has a floor, but if he comes out hot in his first game and runs, then he can hit that ceiling. But Purdy is your safe play. I think that's kind of the way to go. But if you got to swing for defense, then you'd give Murray that shot. But understand there is risk in his first game back. Post on Instagram: Watson, Noah Brown, or Irwin. I assume that's Christian Watson. I'm going to go with Irwin here. Noah Brown had the big game. I said, look, Tampa Bay, they lost Jamel Dean in game with a concussion. They could not cover anywhere, anyhow. Blitz wasn't getting home. Irwin is going to see targets in this one. And last time he subbed in for Higgins, it was 6 for 80 on 10 targets. You see similar volume here. And Steven Nelson, the corners, he should be out for Houston. That's huge. Watson, I can't trust him. He's like 5 points a game since the bye. So I'm going to go with Irwin there. And all right, back to YouTube. Dave White, need 2 PPR. Dotson, Flowers, Reed, Michael Wilson playing versus Jordan Love. Okay. Dotson's been getting target volume. The numbers finally showed up the last 2 weeks. So there's that. So I do like Watson. I do like Dotson, I should say. Seattle's a tougher matchup, but Dotson is an elite talent. So I'm gonna trust him here. Zay Flowers, the screen king, they're going to see a lot of man-to-man defense with heavy pressure. And that man defense is not giving those short free releases. That worries me. But Jaden Reed, they don't throw the ball much in Green Bay. They may be another 28 attempt game, and there's not much to go around. Michael Wilson, he's never played with Kyler. And now they're in a game situation. So I probably will go with screen king. Zay Flowers is the number 2 because he should have a floor for you. But Jaden Reed, too risky. He's like touchdown or bust. And Michael Wilson, he's got to play first with Kyler for me to kind of get a read for that. Mark Marinoff, good morning to you as well. Need to sit one. D-Hop, D. Johnson, or Ayuk. Hopkins should continue to see elite volume, and there's nothing at all wrong with his matchup, so I like him. And Ayuk, very hard to sit him. And he is, even with Debo back, he's the lead receiver in that offense. And there's Jacksonville's covering the pass great, but Ayuk's a different beast. He schemed open, great after the catch, great hands. Deontay Johnson has the floor, but I think he's going to lose a couple targets this week because Pickens was ticked about not getting work. So it's a little bit of a knock on Johnson, so I'll sit him. Disco Dave, good morning to you as well. In a non-PPR, Pitzer, Ferguson. So the only problem with Ferguson is if the defense comes out insane again, scores touchdowns, they don't need Ferguson. But otherwise, Ferguson has a great matchup. And he's right now, I see him as the number 2 in that offense. And I'm going to go with him. Pitts doesn't really have a ceiling right now. He gets lucky and gets a touchdown, great, but that's not happening. So Ferguson is way more utilizing the red zone. That gives me the edge on him. Delroy, Dobbs, or Lawrence. This is a tough matchup for Dobbs against the Saints. They're going to get a lot of pressure. They cover extremely well. I'm going to go with Lawrence for the floor play. I'll come back to Insta in a minute. One more for Delroy. Otten or McBride. Otten has a rugged matchup this week. Not a good tight end matchup for him. McBride hasn't played with Kyler in, last year they played a little bit, but it was really Zach Ertz's game for most of the time. But I'm going to go with McBride here. I think this game has a little more shootout potential than we think. And Otten, the advantage for the Bucs is on the outside receivers. I think they got to go there in this game. Instagram, Yosia Kabi. Sorry if I said it wrong. Singletary or Dotson? I'm going to go Dotson. Singletary basically is he's getting some volume. But I expect that Cincinnati will be decent against the run at home here, and that offensive line is not run blocking well. So that's the way we'll lean there. We're going to go with Dotson, who should get some volume. Tough matchup, but again, elite player, putting up numbers recently. PGA 417, Hockenson or Otten. Hopkins is expected to play. And again, Otten does not have a pristine matchup here where the receivers have the big advantage. Hopkins is going to get his targets. As long as he's playing, I can't overthink that one. Akupo, pick 2. This from Instagram, PPR. Kirk, DK, Debo, or McLaurin. DK has an amazing matchup here, and I think he has a big game here. And I think Kirk is a great matchup in the slot against the 49ers. Those are the 2 I think are your best plays. If you don't trust Kirk, McLaurin always seems to come through regardless of opponent, and so McLaurin is always the rare. Debo in his first game back, his usage is weird. So I'm going to kind of leave him out of this one and keep crapping on Instagram. Okay, so again, that's going to be for Akupo. It's going to be, I'm sorry, I got an itch on here. Sorry about this. And we're going to go with DK and Kirk, but if you don't trust Kirk, McLaurin is always a great option to put in the lineup. Gardner Minshew, intercepted. A mad tip ball, not his fault. Delagizi, does Keaton Mitchell have a boom game? Those are going to be real hard to predict. What I will say is this: Cleveland have given up big chunk runs to running backs this year. That has been a common thread. So I don't know how much of an issue the hamstring is. I know we practiced on Friday. Speed guys and hamstrings are a little scary. But he probably gets 7 to 8 carries, probably because Justice Hill for pass blocking probably still plays some. So it would be a defense he could have a big run against. But I'm predicting that's going to be really, really hard to do. That's going to be the problem. If you're not getting 12, 15 carries, every carry less, it lowers your probability of having the big run, right? But a flex play maybe, because I don't think the volumes would be there, but he could have the big game. He could. I mean, he has that kind of speed. Kevin Keller, Lamar Jackson, or CJ Stroud. Lamar is not going to get much passing yardage, but I think he runs. Cleveland plays a lot of man, which means their defense, if they run their receivers down, then that means the defenders got to turn their back, and Lamar can run the ball off of that with success. And CJ Stroud, look, he had 470 yards last week. The prior 2 weeks, he didn't hit 200. Lou Anarumo at home, defensive coordinator, he's going to have an answer for him. I mean, I have to think that Stroud is closer to the quarterback he was in the prior 2 games than he was last week. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson for his floor. And Nico Collins being out, that's a big deal. Even though he hasn't been producing, defense had to account for him. And then Kevin Keller, another one, Justice Hill, Michael Keaton. I think you mean Keaton Mitchell. Noah Brown, Josh Reynolds, Michael Gabriel Davis, PPR need 3. All right. So now, given this scenario, and Josh Reynolds, it's a lot of zone the Chargers play, and that's typically not a Reynolds going to be the only man that usually is. Gabe Davis, look, I know he's boom bust, but I think this matchup works out well for him. I think against Denver, he'll get Damari Mathis, and that's a wreck of a mismatch in his favor. So we'll go with Davis. Given the players you have, I think we're going to give Keaton Mitchell a shot there because, look, like I said, Cleveland gets up chunk runs. The third one here is going to be between Noah Brown and Michael Wilson. I know Noah Brown, look, Tampa Bay couldn't cover anybody last week. So their whole receiving core looked like, the world-class group of receivers best ever play in the NFL, and that's not the case. Noah Brown is Noah Brown. But Michael Wilson never played with Kyler. So I think the safer floor would be Brown. I think it'd be the safer floor. Justice Hill, he's going to get even less work, but it's going to be pass protecting more than anything. I'll come back to Insta in a second. John, if I'm not answering your question, just hang tight. I'll get to you, John Rubert. Would I drop Levis for Murray? Yeah, I would. I look, there's going to be film out on Levis. Levis is going to be a good quarterback, but there's holes in his game. We saw in the beginning, they downfield thrower, some screens, but defense is the more, like last week, it's a short week. No team was studying film on him. So I think the more film comes out, and they have limitations outside of Hopkins, they don't really have a lot. So I would go with Murray because Murray should be able to run. Instagram, see what we got here. Let's see what we got here. Carlos Mario. Hawkins is going to have less than normal snaps today. Oh, if you have Kincaid or Hawkinson, yeah. The target share that Kincaid is getting is bordering right near what Hawkins is getting. Not exactly, but it's been close the last few weeks. So, yeah, if Hawkins is less than 100% and Kincaid's rolling, yeah, I'd go Kincaid there. Yeah, you have a great option there. And then Chargers fan, probably about Jalen Warren or Gus Edwards. Edwards has been hot, 6 touchdowns in 3 weeks. Cleveland's weakness is against the run. Jalen Warren, the last 3 weeks, his PPR points haven't been great. I think he had a 14 in there, but the other ones have been like closer to 10. But those catches certainly add a little value there, right? With the catches, Warren probably has a slightly better floor. Edwards, with the potential for scoring a touchdown, and Cleveland's potentially giving up big plays, that gives him a little more ceiling. But so that's kind of where the rub is. I would probably be inclined to play Edwards because he's been hot for 3 weeks. Jaylee, 32, good morning to you as well. Do I recommend Stroud or Howell this week? All right, so you heard me saying that, the concern with Howell, with Stroud is that Lou Anarumo is going to probably have a good defensive plan, no Nico Collins. And Howell's just been getting it done. Seattle's a tough matchup for him. But Howell, they're getting the ball out quickly the last 2 weeks. Eric Bieniemy is outstanding coach. So I'm going to give you don't want to see CJ Stroud, but against Cincinnati on the road, I just think, and I think they're going to be rallying the troops with no T. Higgins and a hurt Jamar. I think that defense is really going to come out and have to show some. If your gut says Stroud, go with him. I think Howell's safer. And Pablo Ijas, Tank Dell, Hollywood Brown, or Garrett Wilson. I think Hollywood Brown gets 10 targets in this game. And with Kyler, they have that chemistry. And we can see big plays. We could see a touchdown. Garrett Wilson's, obviously an elite superstar, but the Jets just don't score points. So his touchdown possibility just stays low. So like Brown and Wilson, both have really high floors, but I think Brown has a higher ceiling. So I think we go with Brown, take one more Insta, and I'll come back to the YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We have Santana 401 on Instagram, Herbert or CJ Stroud. Yeah, Herbert doesn't have any receivers right now. Stroud, you heard me talk about that. I'm going to give Herbert the slight edge because that could be a shootout game. Ayuk or Christian Kirk. Coin flip on that one, but I am going to go with Ayuk because I do feel, despite Jacksonville being excellent against the pass, the way they scheme up Ayuk, especially with Trent Williams expected back at the left tackle, that'll give Purdy some time that he hasn't had the last couple games. So I'm going to give Ayuk a slight edge there. And one more Insta before I come back. Yosia, sorry. Singletary or Dotson? You may have asked it, right? I'm going with Dotson there. All right, John Rubright. I went over that already. Jeff, Tyler Boyd or Zay Flowers. So Tyler Boyd has the problem of Tavir Thomas being on him, great slot corner, playing an elite level this year. Zay Flowers going to face a lot of man defense, which is not going to be great for him in that pressure. But I think ultimately, so Flowers has a higher floor. Boyd can have a ceiling game because the way they use him in slot, he can get downfield. So I think we're looking at it this way. You want the floor plays, Flowers. If you want to risk a low floor for more ceiling, then you go to Boyd. Kevin Keller, Otten or Pitts. Oh, man, Otten has a bad matchup. Pitts just doesn't get the ball or do much of anything. But I got to go Pitzer. I think there's a wide receiver game for the Buccaneers because realistically, Tennessee has no answer for Evans and Godwin. I don't think they have to use the middle, and they are good against tight ends. So we're going to go Pitts. John Rubright need 2 running backs, non-PPR, Bijan Robinson, Javonte Williams, David Montgomery. David Montgomery, we got to put him in. We have to assume his role is back, and he was gold. We got to play him. And the matchup this week against the Chargers, I don't see them slowing him down. Now, your next one's tough because Javonte is played like 80% of the snaps last week. The Bills have not been great against the run since they lost Daquan Jones. Field goal was missed. Patriots missed a field goal. All right. So, Bijan's a good matchup. It's as good of a matchup as he's going to have. And you drafted him for this. This is the matchup. I don't know if he goes off, but I think he has a good floor, and I think we could get something more. I'm going to go with Bijan and Montgomery in that one. And then, John, would I drop Sutton for Tank Dell? Yeah, I think so. Sutton doesn't have much of a ceiling. He gets touchdowns, but then the yardage is really low. So I think we're going to look at that. I think we say, yeah, we could do that because we'll play for the upside down the stretch, right? And Dell's going to have those big games. Now, he has bad games too, but so does Sutton. Sutton doesn't have the upside that Dell has. So I think we make that move. Bettina, good morning to you as well. PPR League, Tony Pollard, man, oh my gosh. It's so tough, right? Because Tony Pollard, man, we drafted him to be the stud. And what I said on my XM show yesterday was that when you're the guy, defense plays at your speed. When you're the change-up guy, the defense plays at the starter speed. So when Zeke Elliott was a starter last year, defenses played at Zeke's speed. And then Pollard came in, the defense was playing slow compared to him, and he was just busting off big plays. Well, this year, lowest yards per carry by far in the last few years from like 4, usually 5.5 guy, change of pace guy. And then his yards per catch, that's yards lower than it was the last couple of years. Hopkins is going to get fed here. And Pollard, look, this could be the game where the Giants are not good on defense. If the lead doesn't get outrageous, he gets a heavy workload. So I think he and Hopkins have good floors. I think Pollard has more ceiling potential. He hasn't had ceiling since like week 2 or 3. But I would probably give Pollard a 55-45 edger because against the Giants, this could be a week he's able to get something going. I'll come back to Insta in a minute. If your question is not being answered, please be patient and I will get to you. We'll just have to get through everybody's questions. Johnny Football, Sam Howell or Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence he'll get you like 18 to 22 points, like all but 1 week. He does it every week, like clockwork, right? Howell, it's a tougher matchup. Seattle on the road. They get some pass rush. Their corners are good. I got a super chat question. So as soon as Johnny's, I'm going to get to that super chat question. So, Johnny, we're going to go with Trevor Lawrence for safe. Howell has a boom bust element, always does. And so if you need like more than that 22 points you're going to get from Lawrence, you'd have to risk the floor with Howell to go with the ceiling. And that'd be it. All right, we got a super chat. And I'm going to come back to Johnny's second question. So Eric Han has a question here. Let me see if I can get that on the screen. I'll read it right off here. PPR need a quarterback off the waiver wire. Russell Wilson, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Josh Dobbs. I love Baker Mayfield this week. Tennessee has a moderate pass rush, but that offensive line has been pass blocking at an elite level. They can't run block to save their lives. But then the other thing is Evans and Godwin have pristine matchups on the outside. There is no answer in the Tennessee secondary for either of them. I love Baker Mayfield this week. So Eric, thank you for being a super chat user. Appreciate you. All right. I'll come back to Insta for a minute. And I'll come back to your next question, Johnny Football. All right, let's see what we got here. And all right, Ethan Metal. Who do I think you should start? Dell, Lockett, Dotson. Really don't know what Dell. Right. You lean. Like I said, I do think. Remember, Tank Dell's had 3 down games. He's had 2 big games, and then he had a middling game or 2. Dots has been seeing legitimate target share. It's not a great matchup, but he is a very, very, very good player. Lockett also has an excellent matchup this week as well. So as we look this one through, Dell's your boom bust guy. because there's a world where Anarumo just takes that defense and he puts out, that another one of those 190-yard games for Stroud like he had the prior 2 weeks before going off. So he's your boom bust. Dotson and Lockett are both good floor plays. I think the matchup is so good for Lockett that I think Lockett's your best floor play. But again, you want the boom bust, trust your gut. You mentioned Dell. I think fantasy managers smart like yourself. I think you trust that gut move. When you have it, you go with what you believe. You know your team and your roster. And so, again, I totally get starting Tank Dell. Santana, Ayuk or Christian Kirk. We're going to go with Ayuk. They're both, it's like 55-45. Kirk has a really good slot matchup, but Ayuk, and I know, like I said, Jacksonville is very good against the pass, but the way they scheme up Ayuk, I think Ayuk, when they get him the ball, he's going to get it done. So I'm going to go with Ayuk. Coming out of the bye, Trent Williams back helps too. Herbert or Stroud? Herbert, I think, has a safer floor. Stroud, maybe your boom busted this way. Herbert's not going to likely have a ceiling game here. No Josh Palmer. Obviously, Mike Williams has been gone forever. So I think if you need, 18 points, 20 points, Herbert's your guy. But I think if you think you need 25, 30, then you have to go boom bust with Stroud, because I think it could be a tough game, but obviously he's shown he can overcome a lot. So we'll do that. Carlos Mario, I think you asked that one already. Again, if you ask your question once, I'll get to you. You got to give me a little time. I think I might have another super chatter. Hang on. I do have another super chat. I got one from Lucius Varinas. That's from Rome. I like that. You need to cut one. Goddard, Gabe Davis, Flowers, or Rashee Rice. Oh, man. The problem with Goddard is we don't know how long the injury is. I know he broke his forearm. I think they're making it sound like it was, it could be a hairline fracture. They could plate it. It could be 2 weeks and back. Tight ends are so hard to find, and it'd be really hard to consider dropping them. Gabe Davis has been really boom bust. Zay Flowers, he's really coming down to earth quite a bit. Rashee Rice, I see him as a guy they're going to have to lean on in the second half. So, look, if you don't want the boom bust guy, get rid of Gabe Davis. If you want to keep the boom bust guy and you want to get rid of like the floor play, they'd get rid of Flowers in that case. I would keep Rice. I would hang on to Goddard. It's just right now, if he's back in 2 weeks, or even if you have him for the fantasy playoffs, you're going to need him. You're going to have to start him every week in the fantasy playoffs, where these other guys are guys that you might be able to work around. So that's how so again, I keep Goddard and Rice for sure. And then again, you want the boom bust, keep Davis. If you want the floor guy, keep Flowers. All right. Go back to all right. And then Johnny Football asked, Jets D or Browns D? Jets D, they're playing at such a high level right now, and they are playing the Raiders. The Raiders do look revived right now, so there's that, and that's exciting. The Browns, it's not a great matchup. I mean, and they both have pass rush. I'm going to go with the Jets here. They're just, I don't see how the Raiders move the ball on them. And Aiden O'Connell. I think Aiden O'Connell is kind of the break point, right? One more here, and I'm going to go back to Insta. Robert Stone. Good morning, Robert. Good to see you, man. With injuries of both Cincy and Houston receivers, do I start Dak over Stroud? So Dak this is your boom bust, because if they need him to throw, he can have a field day, right? But if that defense comes out and just blowing up Tommy DeVito and the defense scores and they get this lead, they might be able to run the ball. So Dak has huge ceiling, but then there's a lower floor because they might not need him. But again, Stroud, and I know I don't want to talk him down because dude just threw for 470 yards and 5 touchdowns. But remember, the prior 2 weeks was less than 200 in Cincinnati and Anarumo, and it's no Collins. So I probably would start Dak over him. I would start. Dak's playing at such a high level right now. The last few weeks, he really looks like the Dak we wanted to see. On Insta, just the FF. All right. Standard non-PPR pick 2. Brian Robinson, Deontay Johnson, Marquise Brown. We're going to sit Brian Robinson here. The volume hasn't been fantastic. Deontay, I think he loses a couple targets because Pickens was complaining, but the floor is so dang good. Even the non-PPR, he's getting you 50, 60 yards. Brian Robinson would need to get in the end zone for that. Seattle's been good against the run. Bobby Wagner is going to be a problem, I think, for him. So Marquise Brown, I love him this week with Kyler coming back. All right, another Insta question. Pablo Ijas, Hollywood, Garrett, Wilson, or Dell may have answered that one for somebody already. Hollywood, I'm going to go to Hollywood Brown here. I think his floor is great, and he has an equal ceiling with the rest. RMT 927 standard. Irwin or Palmer. I'm going to go with Irwin. I think Irwin has a big game here. And Carlos, and I think you asked that question multiple times. The RYN0, pick 2, Metcalf, Javonte, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Metcalf is a beautiful matchup, and the pass rush won't be there with the 2 edge rushers being traded away from Washington a couple weeks ago. So we're going to go with Metcalf. Javonte and Jahmyr, because we don't know what Jahmyr Gibbs' usage is going to be with Montgomery back. But, Javonte, he looks really good, but Jahmyr's going to catch more passes. And you'd hate to miss if they gave Gibbs an enhanced workload. I think Williams' ceiling is capped, whereas Gibbs has big playability, which is more than it. I'm going to go Gibbs the second. Ethan Metal. Do I start Dell, Lockett, or Dotson? So your boom bust play is Dell, and Lockett's your floor play. I think Lockett has a really high floor this week. Chargers fan, you're welcome. Michael Kosowski, Gus Edwards, or James Cook. Man, James Cook, it's been weird. The scoring hasn't been there. Red zone usage is occasional, not consistent. That's a problem. So we don't really like that so much. So, and they're playing Denver, which in theory is a good matchup, though. Gus Edwards, he's going to lose a little bit of work with Keaton Mitchell. Been running red hot lately. You know what? I got to go with the hot hand of Gus Edwards. He's been 6 touchdowns. He's just been running hot right now. Cook has been running cold. I just got to keep that trend and say, look, it's what the trend is right now. And Cook is just not, they're not using him right either. I think that's a problem. Pablo Ias, maybe Hollywood, Wilson, or Dell, pick 2. We're going to go with Hollywood and Wilson. And because they both have great floors. Hollywood has a great ceiling. I like them both over Dell. Garrick B, Kyler or Levis. I'm going to go with Kyler here. Tampa Bay got both of their corners back. Last week, Dean was out most of the game. They're going to blitz him a lot. Kyler, they both have risk. I think Kyler is able to run. The coach said he's able to run. I'm gonna kind of say that's probably a better chance. And Levis doesn't really have that type of in his arsenal the same way Kyler does. I'm gonna give Kyler the edge there. And let's see here. And Brian McBee, Geno or Baker. Oh, love them both. Love them both. Like them both in DFS. Like them both in, I guess. Yeah, they both it's a literal coin flip. And they both have receiver advantages. They both are probably not going to see much pressure in their games. Tampa Bay is at home. Geno is at home. I guess over and under, there's a better chance of the Seattle and Washington game shooting out. I guess that gives Geno a 51-49 edge. And then RMT, I answered your question right. Again, if you answer your question, just make sure you hang on. It's going to take a little time, but I will get to you. Come back to YouTube. And we got John Rubright. John, you've got Seattle D or the Jets D. I'm going to go with the Jets D because Washington scores points. They find a way to put the points on the board, so there's that. Steve, welcome back. You need to sit one running back out of these. Monty, Robinson, Connor, who he is cleared, and Rachaad White. So now Rachaad White catches 4 to 7 passes a week. The Titans are very good against receiving backs. I don't necessarily trust Brian Robinson here because Bobby Wagner's made a big difference on the interior run defense. That's kind of where he makes his money. And I'm going to sit Brian Robinson for that reason because I do think that even though there might not be a lot of yards after the catch, White probably still catches 3 or 4 passes, which gets you to PPR value. Not going to get a lot on the ground, but I think Robinson, he really is dependent on touchdowns, and this is just a rough one for him. Steve, you need a PPR flex, a receiver and a flex. Brown, Sutton, Robinson, and Singletary. So, all right. So we are going to go with Hollywood Brown for sure. And I'm going to give Courtland Sutton the edge of the second one. Coming out of the bye, and the corners are not great right now for the Bills. That's the way we're going to go on that. Singletary, just a little tougher of a matchup for him. Max Schaffner. Irwin is a flex PPR. Yes, I think so. I think you could bank double-digit fantasy points for him here. Boyd's going to face Tavira Thomas. It's a rough matchup, and they're going to have to utilize him some. Did he come down with that? Watch it. Juju Smith-Schuster, yay. made a catch for a first down. Jeff Rogers, Boyd or Flowers. You just heard me talk about the Boyd matchup. Flowers is a bad matchup too. He's going to face Martin Emerson is probably gonna be very physical with him, and that's not. I'm gonna give. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna give Boyd the slightest of edges here. Kevon Gale, Ramondre running. Mike Evans or Ayuk. Evans is a great matchup. Actually, in this case, Evans' matchup is way better than Ayuk's, and there's not going to be pass pressure coming. I don't believe they're going to get to Baker. I'm going to give Mike Evans the edge here. Evans could have a big game for you here. If you like Ayuk, trust your gut. Steve, Goddard injury was a crusher for tight end. Cotton, Irv Smith, Musgrave, Juwan Johnson. I'm going to go with Irv Smith. I think with Boyd facing Tavir Thomas, I think some of the middle targets are going to have to go to Irv Smith's ways. I'm going to go with that. Oh, yeah, if you hit the like and subscribe button if you're on RotoWire or YouTube, it would be greatly appreciated. If you give me a follow at Jim Coventry NFL on the X, I would greatly appreciate that as well. Questions I answered there throughout the week. Next week, we're doing a Sunday live starts to stream as usual. Saturday, we're probably going to work out something. Check my X feed over the week, but we're probably going to do something where we're answering questions on Twitter Saturday late morning. So you might be able to get questions answered there too. That's easier for you. And that would be like text. I'll have instructions on it during the week. Andrea, good morning to you as well. All right, the ROI at DK Metcalf, Javonte Williams. I think I may have answered for somebody else. Metcalf and Gibbs, we're going to start over Javonte Williams. Muzz Lightyear, Hawkinson or Ferguson, full PPR. There's a chance where Dallas doesn't need to throw a lot because they get out to a big lead. Hawkinson has the rib injury, but I think he's going to be needed here. Josh Dobbs have to get the ball. The pass rush from New Orleans is pretty good. So I'm going to go with Hawkins and give Hawkinson the edge here. Vince Mann, Kincaid, TJ are both high volume, for both. Emily Hoffman, thanks for the follow. Garrick, Jerome Ford or Tyler Boyd. So you heard me talking about Boyd's matchup in the slot. I don't like it. Ford doesn't have a great matchup either, but I do think they're going to have to lean on him a bit. So I'm going to give Ford a slight edge there. Howard Kodas, Irwin or Singletary. I'm going with Irwin. I think he does have a game here for us. They're going to need him, and he's been a very good fill-in. I'm almost done on Instagram, so I have 2 questions. I'm going to move out and go back to the YouTube only. All right, watch Zeke Elliott, Cade Otton or Jonnu Smith. Otton is a bad matchup, and the receivers have great matchups. I think this is going to be Jonnu Smith game, better than him. Brian McBee, man, you're welcome. You're welcome. Then just the effing around, standard on PPR. Brian Robinson, Hollywood Brown, Deontay Johnson. Going with Hollywood Brown and Deontay Johnson. Robinson, I'm worried about the matchup with Bobby Wagner in the middle of the defense. All right, I'm off on Insta. If you're here on Insta, come over on RotoWire YouTube and find me there. Thank you for joining everybody who's on that platform. And back to finishing off here. All right, let's get us back here now. All right, we are going to close out on, let me see how I'm looking question-wise. I think I got the 2 super chat, and we got a good number of questions. We were early, it's 10:30 only, or 11:30 for Eastern time. But all right, run CMC, good or bad trade. Give Mike Evans and Tank Bell for Cooper Kupp and Devon Achane. Look, Kupp in the Achane side, you're swinging for league-winning upside. Evans and Dell, I think they have too many floor weeks that they're going to be there. I like the Kupp and Achane side. I think that's a swing for the fence. Follower of Christ, good morning, redraft trade. All right. And Andrea, flex, need to Addison, Lockett, Deontay, and Zay Flowers, and James Conner. I'm a James Conner guy. He was playing great despite bad matchups and bad situations. They need him. He's just the stud. I'm always gonna go with James Conner and because he's gonna get volume. He's gonna get 15 plus touches. He always does. So we're gonna go with him. And then I think your next safest play is Deontay Johnson. I think he's gonna lose a few targets because Pickens was complaining, but I do think that he has a very high floor. But I think Lockett has a close floor, but I think this could be a ceiling game against Washington. So if you want, and I'm going to leave Addison out because it's a bad matchup, and Josh Dobbs is going to probably struggle here. So I'm going to go with Connor for sure. Don't like Zay Flowers. Martin Emerson is going to probably beat him up, I would think. And so again, you want super safe Deontay. If you want to go a little less floor for a little more upside, then I go with Lockett. Steve, Shaheed against the Vikes. So look, it's going to be tough for Shaheed here. The Bills play a shell. They don't give up big play. The Vikings don't give up big plays. They bring up a ton of blitz. Carr struggles. Shaheed is very, very, very risky. I love Shaheed. But I think Sutton is in a good matchup spot here, and I think he has a reasonable floor. I would trust the floor because Shaheed, if they played the game 4 times. One game he has the pop game, and the other 3 he kind of does very little. I'd go with Sutton for that reason. Shookson, pick 2 running backs: Cook, Ford, Keaton Mitchell, Warren, or Gibson. You know what? All right, Cook gets volume, the best of this group. I'm going to go with Cook. And I think you swing for the potential of Mitchell here. I think with the other group, Ford is a bad matchup. Warren, we're starting to see Najee play better with under center running. And Warren has a better floor than Mitchell, okay? But it's not a massive floor. So if you want to be a layup safe floor, take Warren. But if you really want to have a little more potential upside, even if it's 7 or 8 carries, Cleveland gets a big run. So Mitchell would be your guy. Again, Gibson, he's been seeing more passing volume, but I think given your other options, he's too risky. Andrea, I'm going to go with Geno over Kyler Murray. I love Geno's matchup. We're not going to see much of a passage. No Chase Young, no Bryce, no Chase Young, and no Montez Sweat. They got traded away, and I think Geno's tackles now can hold up and give him time, and those receivers have really good matchup advantages here. Fourth quarter, 7-3 Indy. Yeah, that was, man, we're talking about an under bet. Wow, 42 is the opening number on that screen. Zeke Elliott's getting it done inside the 10. All right, follower of Christ, A. Bijan, Taysom Hill, Fields. All right, I'm not sure how many you need here, and B. Kelsey, I don't get. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Frame it out exactly, like how many you need to start, and just give me the players, and I'll be happy to help you. Andrea, Gus, or Charbonnet? You know what, Charbonnet, I really believe his workload was due to Walker's struggle with a calf injury. So I'm going to go with Gus. Gus has been a safe floor guy, and he's been running really hot lately. Charbonnet, I think the inside runs may not be there because of Bobby Wagner. Foxborough News, 8-man full PPR flex play of Kamara, Connor, Aaron Jones, and Tank Dell. All right. Kamara has such a high floor because he gets so many touches, and with the PPR targets, you get the blitz. He's probably going to get targets because of the blitz. That's Eddie stretching out Ramondre Stevenson. That doesn't look good. All right, so I'm going to go with Kamara, and Aaron Jones and Connor are close. I think Aaron Jones sees more targets. I'm going to go with Kamara, and I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. Tank Dell is a real boom bust, and I really think that Cincinnati, with no Nico Collins for Houston, I think they really have an answer for him in this game. So if you want to go boom bust, I mean, obviously Tank Dell has the boom game, and that can play him over Aaron Jones, but I would go Kamara and Jones otherwise. And I love James Conner, but not against those guys. Pete, Najee or Connor? Yeah, Najee's playing great the last few weeks. He's near 15 PPR points in 2 of his last 3. I think Najee's safer. I think Najee is safer right now. I think Connor has more ceiling, though, because we could see a multi-touchdown game out of Connor. It would not surprise me for a second. He is like gold in the red zone. So I think if you want a safe floor play, it's Najee. They're running under center a little bit more, which helps him. But I think the bigger boom player would be Connor. But I think there's a lower floor for Connor than there is for Najee in this one. And I see this red zone play. Mac Jones launching it up over. Oh, almost got intercepted over through Hunter Henry. Wow, that was a terrible throw. Steven, Goff or Stroud? Road Goff. I always talk about road Goff. But I still think even on the road where Goff typically has his struggles against the Chargers, I think he gets 2 touchdowns. I don't think there's a whole lot of ceiling for Stroud for Goff in this game. Stroud's a boom bust play. I really think that Lou Anarumo has a game plan for him. Remember, Stroud had less than 200 yards in 2 of his last 3 games. So I'm a little bit concerned with that. But I think, of course, Stroud could figure it out, right? So I think Stroud's your boom bust guy, but I think Goff is a safe layup. I would take the layup, but if you got to swing for defense, then you go with Stroud. Shookson, another one. PPR flex, Ridley, Edwards, or Madison. Madison is a bad matchup. I don't think he gets it going here. Ridley, it's speculative, right? But I do have to think out of the bye. Doug Peterson has to figure out, because Ridley can win those outside routes against the 49ers. They're going to need him in this game. Ridley and Edwards are close. And I'm going to give Ridley a 51-49 edge on this one. If your gut says Edwards, I get it, but I would leave Madison out. Andrea, we're going Ferguson or Schultz. I think this is an easier matchup for Schultz, and because Ferguson might not be needed. I'm going to give Schultz an edge because I think there's a stronger likelihood that the Houston needs Schultz and Dallas doesn't need Ferguson in this game because Dallas could win big. Lindorphins, more into you as well. Keep off of me. Singletary and Algier. Yeah, I know. Algier he's getting volume, but he's just not getting it done. But this is as good of a matchup as he'll have. Singletary, again, volume and not getting it done. I think against Arizona, I do think Algier is going to get his double-digit touches. And I think he has a fair chance of finding the end zone. But I think Singletary, it's a safer floor. I think Singletary is going to get 15 touches. So his floor is safer. And I don't think Algier has enough upside to make me say, I'm going to this is the floor of Singletary. So I got to go with Singletary. Foxborough News, 16-man, half PPR flex play. You have Connor or Warren. I'm going to go Connor. I think Connor comes right back to 15 touches. And if they get near the goal line, he's money. I'm going to go with him. Admiral Nita, Connor, or Deontay Johnson. So I do think George Pickens was really pissed about not getting usage, right? And I think he's going to get a couple extra targets, and I think it's going to knock down Deontay's targets a couple. And James Conner, he's going to get back to a normal workload. I think Kyler is going to help him. It's not a great matchup, but we know Conner is an outstanding running back. I'm going to give Conner a 52-48 edge here. If your gut says Deontay, I get it. Kyle, welcome. Good to see you. Master J3, pick one, Flowers, Myers, or McBride. Yeah, McBride has been playing well. Kyler has had much time. I think they had a little bit of time last year to begin some development. It was really Ertz at the time, I think, until the injury. Ertz got hurt late in the season, so it was mostly Ertz. I'm going to give Myers. Well, Myers is playing the Jets. It's going to be DJ Reed or Sauce Gardner, depending what side of the field he's on. Flowers has a bad matchup with Martin Emerson. I'd probably give Flowers the edge for the floor. I think Flowers has the best floor of the three in this one. I think the boom bust play would be Myers. Myers would be the boom bust play, but they know Conley. I do get a little nervous. I probably just go with Flowers and call it a day. Kyle, Ferguson or McBride. So again, I said I'm worried about the Dallas might not need Ferguson, but I think given going against McBride, Kyler loves him some Marquise Brown and some James Conner. And I think he's a good, McBride's a good play, but I think he takes a back seat here to Ferguson, who's been playing at a super high level. Irwin or Shakir, yeah, that one's 50-50, or Michael Thomas, even in the same boat. Michael Thomas makes that close. So, Michael Thomas might be the best floor of them because you're going to see a lot of blitz from Minnesota, and Minnesota tends to play a deeper shell, and the underneath stuff should be open. So that would point to a Michael Thomas game. I love Irwin and Shakir as well. So if you have a gut feel on those, fine. I just think Michael Thomas, based on the style of defense he's going to face in the Vikings, I think he's the best fit for that. And we're seeing he's getting targets. Colts kick return out to nearly the 50. 7-6 game. See if we see a Jonathan Taylor show down the stretch here. All right, Eric, welcome back. Struggling with which one to choose. Lawrence, Geno, or Howell. All right, Geno, I love Geno this week. Again, Washington trade away their edge rushers, and that's where Seattle struggles with the pass rusher. Tackles can't protect, but against the backup pass rushers, they protect just fine. And DK and Lockett have big mismatches in my mind. So Lawrence is your floor. Lawrence will get you 18 to 20 points almost every week. He did it all but one, 18 to 22 almost every week. So Lawrence is your floor play. I think Geno can, he can always like lay an egg, right? But Geno has real upside here. Howell's always in the consideration because he's been playing very good fantasy football. But Geno's matchup being great. Again, Geno's your boom bust. Lawrence is your floor guy. Howell certainly in the discussion, but I'm going to put him third in this one. Steve, with Connor back, safer to drop McLaughlin, Singletary, Jameson Williams, or Dobbs. McLaughlin dropped to 11% snap share last week, 17 the week before. He used to be like 33. I think with that low of a snap share, Javonte Williams is just the guy, unless you're keeping him for insurance if Javonte gets hurt. But we already have past the halfway point. So if you're keeping him for insurance, then drop Jameson Williams. But if you're not keeping McLaughlin for insurance and drop McLaughlin, that snap share is dropped too low. Isaac, see this play here. Gardner dropping back on a 3rd and 2, buying all kinds of time in the pocket. All right, they moved the chains to Michael Pittman. They're in field goal range. Nice. Isaac Marr, Lamar, Purdy, or Dobbs. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Cleveland plays a ton of man defense, and Todd Monken's pretty smart. And if he runs the receivers downfield, they got to turn their backs on Lamar. That should give Lamar some rushing floor more than usual. So I think Lamar gets it done as a runner here. And I'm going to go with Lamar. I don't like Dobbs' matchup. Purdy's fine, but I don't think there's much ceiling against Jacksonville. Rahendra Rahendra, Amari Cooper, or Cortland Sutton. So Sutton doesn't even have a high ceiling. So for that reason, Cooper is a bad matchup. But you know what? We already see Deshaun Watson's getting him the ball because he realizes Cooper's a superstar. I'm going to go with Cooper. Cooper should get volume in this game. And I know the Ravens are great on defense, but I'm going to go with the superstar here. Daniel, do you start Lamar? He almost dropped 30. Well, yeah, now that last game was weird, but I'm going to start him. Yeah, you start him. But remember, that last game was Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and, man, the Ravens had all kinds of field position in that game. So I just want you to get that. But you're starting Lamar. Lamar's going to get, like you heard me say a second ago, he's going to be able to run the ball here. Eric, oh, man, Noah Brown or Devontae Adams, you're going to do that. Look, Noah Brown, Tampa Bay could not cover anybody last week. They had Jamel Dean got knocked out of the game. They had nobody. They could not stop a soul. That's not Cincinnati. And Devontae's been terrible. But I'm going to go with Devontae here. I'm going to go with Devontae because Noah Brown, look, if Noah Brown gets a 2 for 6, that's totally in the range of outcomes. Devontae do much better. I'm going to go with Devontae. I just, Noah Brown is that's way past the line for me. John Rubright, Lockett or Dell. Lockett has a way higher floor in this one. It's a great matchup, too, for him. Dell's your boom bust guy. I do think that Lou Anarumo is an answer for him here, especially with Nico Collins out. He kind of becomes the guy they have to watch for, and I think they have no problem doing that. But, again, Dell's been making big plays all year. But I think that Lockett is way safer. So I would tend to trust him. But if you want your boom bust guy, you got to go with Dell. Master J3, Murray or Levis. I'm going with Murray. Levis is probably going to see a lot of blitz here. And it looks, I think Jamel, I can't check the inactives now, but I think Jamel Dean's playing, and he practiced Friday. But that said, I think he's a lot of blitzer, and we're gonna learn more. The team films out on Levis. Like last week, it's a short week. There was no film study for him. I would go with Murray. Ethan Betterman, you keep flipping Singletary or Algier. Yeah, I know. That's a tough one. Somebody had a similar question. I think Singletary's a higher floor. Algier just hasn't been running at a high level right now, and it's a great matchup for him. And so you're totally right in considering it. Singletary is a safer floor. And again, I don't think Algier has such a high ceiling that we back Singletary out on that. Steve, Otten or Ursith. I don't like Otten's matchup this week. And I think the receiver matchup is so good. They're not going to have to throw to the tight end much. Ursith, I think, is going to have to see the ball a little bit this week because, Chase Hurton and Higgins out. I think they're going to need the middle of the field. And Tyler Boyd has Tavir Thomas on him. That's not a good matchup. I would give it a slight edge, Herb Smith. Harlan, good morning to you as well. Today they start Jared Goff over Justin Herbert. It's close. Goff on the road is always a little tricky. I do think against this defense, he gets 2 touchdowns. So there's that. I wouldn't be surprised if Herbert goes on a touchdown bomb to Jalen Guyton. That would not surprise me for a second. Herbert will run some, especially if he has to. He'll run some. That's a 50-50 call. I'm gonna. You know what? Goff on the road. It just, for whatever reason, he has good matchups. Sometimes it doesn't work out as much. I'm going to give Herbert the edge at home. But if your gut says Goff, go with your gut. But I'm going to give Herbert the slight edge. Joe, Dobbs, Wilson, or Geno. I'm going to go Geno. I heard me talking earlier. Just love Geno's matchup. Oh, is there any super chat here? I think I got a super chat that came up here. Foxborough, and I had a couple super chats. Let me get to here. I got to answer these first. So, Foxborough News. You've got 16-man half PPR. Trenton Irwin, Jahan Dotson. You know what? I love Irwin this week, but Jahan Dotson, even in a bad matchup, he's getting targets. He's an elite player. Irwin may have a really good floor, but Jahan Dotson, I think when you got a star young player running hot, and this game could shoot out, I think we got to do it. And Robert Woods, I don't think we're going to put in the equation here. We're going to go with Jahan Dotson there. If your gut says Irwin, I get it. I think Irwin has a good game, but Jahan Dotson's playing so well. Joseph Zock, another super chat question. Thank you. Stroud, Howell, one wide receiver. All right. So, Howell seems to get down with his legs, and the game could shoot out, and it's not a great matchup for him. Stroud, I'm worried about this. Remember, Stroud has less than 200 yards in 2 of his last 3 games. He had 470 in there, but Tampa Bay, like I said, that was just an atrocious defensive effort. No shade on Stroud. He's going to be a superstar. I think Howell has a better blend of floor and ceiling. I think Stroud has more volatility this week. He could have a big game, but there's a bigger chance he has a smaller game. So I'm going to give the lean to Howell for that reason. And then Godwin, Wilson, or Kirk, all 3 have high floors. I think Garrett Wilson has the highest target volume of the trio. And look, Wilson at one point is going to break something after the catch and turn it into a touchdown. They all are excellent plays. I'm going to give Garrett Wilson the slight edge against the Raiders. All right, let's get back to and then let me see, Joe. Let me see. I got to go back further down here. Got to find where I left off in the questions. Okay, so I think we left off with Joe here. Dobbs, Wilson, or Geno. I think we answered that one for Joe. We said Geno Smith on that one. So Geno Smith's going to be the start there. Great matchup. Thomas C. And again, if you haven't answered your question, please hang tight. I'll get to you as soon as I can. We'll get through everybody. Let me just see where we're at the question-wise. Yeah, we should be okay. I see Brian Upton's in the house all the way at the bottom of the queue. Brian, it'll be a while, but I'll get to you, my friend. All right. Thomas C. No tight end spot, uses receiver. Laporta, Javonte Williams, London, McLaurin need 2. All right. So they're all in good shape this week. I do think there's a very good Drake London matchup here. And Heinicke is the kind of guy who should get him the ball. So I'm going to trust London here. McLaurin is like matchup proof. It's not a great matchup for him, but he is matchup proof. So there's that. Laporta has a beautiful matchup against the Chargers. And Javonte Williams, it's not a tough matchup with Daquan Jones, who's been out for Buffalo. That makes it a better opportunity game. That all said, I'm going to go with London for sure. And it's so hard to bench McLaurin. His floor is so good. If you have a gut feel in Laporta, go with it. But I'm going to just say London and McLaurin. McLaurin's just that star player that gets it done. Like, and that game could shoot out. Alex, good morning. Isaac, today's day where up is down and down. I hope that's not the case later. But I think the Colts and the Patriots gave us kind of what we figured we give, like no scoring, right? 1 touchdown, Jonathan Taylor. Yay. Alex picked 2, super flex. Howell, Geno, or Trevor? Geno, I like Geno this way. I think Geno there's not going to be a pass rush on him, and that's going to make the difference. His receivers have a big advantage. Trevor Lawrence is a great floor play, but he doesn't really have ceiling, I don't think, in this game. So if you want the boom bust play, that's Sam Howell. He has more upside, but there could be a down game, but Lawrence is safer. So Smith for sure, Lawrence for floor, Howell for boom bust. Joe, non-PPR. Ayuk, Olave, and Connor. Pick 1. Love them all. Ayuk has a technical bad matchup, but they get him open. Olave has been struggling a bit, and there's going to be a lot of blitz. Connor, not a great matchup, but he gets extreme volume. This is really an even one. And I think the player with the best upside potential is Olave, because I think he could make something happen after the catch. I think Olave, but go with your gut on that one. It's like you're asking the question because it's so close. I would give Olave to slightly with the blitz happens. They'll compromise some coverage, and he's the kind of guy that can make something happen after the catch. Simp, trusting Calvin Ridley. Trust that's a tough word. We're hopeful that Doug Peterson during the bye figured out that they've got to get him involved. We're hopeful that happens. So we'll see what happens with that. But trying to decide who to flex: Kincaid, Ridley, London, or Connor. Well, of all those choices, Kincaid has a great floor right now. He may have the best floor of that entire group. PPR, I'm assuming. So I think he has the best floor of them all. I think London is your boom bust play. I love James Conner. And I wouldn't trust Ridley over this group. I wouldn't. I mean, I have to see a couple games from him. It just hasn't happened. Chris, non-PPR or Conquo, Irv Smith, Juwan Johnson, or Conklin. It's a tough one. I'm going to go to Irv Smith. Again, Javier Thomas is on Tyler Boyd. It's a tough matchup for him. They're going to need ancillary help. Chase is hurting. So I'm going to go to Irv Smith slightly here. Brian, Rapport says Chase is in. Yeah, but that doesn't mean a lot, right? We've seen Zach Taylor do that with T. Higgins, where he's used him as a decoy when he's been hurt. And so there's a history of him doing that. So, but you're starting Chase. If Chase is in your lineup, you got to start him. If he gets a 0, you live with it. Because if he scores 30 and his back feels good, you're going to kick yourself. So you definitely play him. Dak or Purdy? Purdy is a floor guy this week. Jacksonville's been really good against the pass. Dak, we're worried they get out to a big lead early because they're defense scorers. But Dak's playing at a high level. We're going to go with Dak here. And then I don't do kickers. Yeah, kickers are all luck, and I'm the least lucky person in the world. There's no rational analysis. I would say take the team with the higher implied total on the Vegas line. I would probably say that. Both of those games could shoot out, but yeah, kickers, I'm terrible. I'll get them wrong every time. Dylan, pick one tight end, full PPR. Musgrave, Chiggy, Otten. I don't like Otten's matchup this week, and I think the receivers have a great mismatch here. Musgrave probably gets some production. I'm looking like 3 for 35, 3 for 40, and I think that might be enough to win from that group. Dylan, few start sit questions this week. Cook or Hollywood? I'm going to go with Hollywood Brown. I think he gets 10 targets in this one. Cook's just been kind of scuffling a bit. Running back flex, Ford, Singletary, Flowers. We're going with Flowers. He's a bad matchup, but he should get enough catches to cash in for you. And Ford is a bad matchup. Singletary doesn't have on paper, it's a good matchup, but he's just not very good. I think Singletary gets more volume than Ford, though. So I'm going to give Singletary a 51-49 edge over Ford. And then Dylan, you got more. It's Njoku, Noah Brown, Ferguson. Noah Brown should be listed as a receiver. I don't know that you have him listed as a tight end, but I would go Ferguson over that group. I would go Ferguson there. And then flex Shakir or Algier. I'm going to go with Shakir. Algier has a nice matchup, but he hasn't gotten it done in good matchups in the past, so I'm going to stay away from him. Laporta or Taysom Hill for Jeff Rodgers. Laporta has a nice matchup, and I think he has a safer floor than Hill. But the last 4 weeks, the floor for Hill's been 18 points. So I'm telling people, until Hill doesn't have a heavily involved game, I have to start him because he is putting up like 20 points a game for 4 weeks. I don't think we could sit that. Laporta is very good, but until Hill is not a part of that offense for a couple weeks, I got to play him. And Chad, yes, it is a painful game. Glad I'm doing this show instead of watching. Of course, I have to rewatch the film tomorrow. Oh, that's going to be just pleasant. Harlan, good morning to you as well. I think you asked me about that already, so we're good there. Dylan traded Flowers, Goddard, Otten for Komet, James Conner. Yeah, I think that's a great move. Eric, need quarterback off the waiver wire. Baker, Russell, Dobbs. I love Baker this week. Shouldn't see a lot of pass rush. That line protects him. The receivers have a great matchup too. Lost Goddard. Strouder, Fields. Fields played already. I'm not sure what the lineup. If you have a specific lineup question, get that asked for me. I don't know what that question is. I'm sorry. It just looks like it's a bunch of players on your team because Fields played already and Roshan played already. So, Joshua, Myers or Jordan Addison? I'm going to give Addison a slight edge here. It's a bad matchup for both of them, and they both have quarterback issues. I'm going to give Addison probably gets more target. Myers is going to see either Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed. I don't think it's a great matchup for him, so I'm going to go with that. Master J3, Ridley, Olave, Ayuk, pick 2. We're going to sit Ridley. He just hasn't gotten it done enough. I'd love to give him a chance, but right now, Olave is getting targets. Ayuk's getting targets, and Ridley doesn't always get them. So we're going to go with that. Shookson, Barkley, Connor, or Edwards. Barkley's going to need garbage time to come through for you. And it certainly could happen, right? So there's that. Connor should get high volume in this game. It's not a great matchup, but he's James Conner. He has Kyler too. Hard to sit Saquon Barkley. Dallas is going to run everybody at him, I think, though. I'm going to give Connor a 51-49 edge over him. If your gut says Barkley, go with him because he is Saquon Barkley. He's a superstar. Jack Gold, JSN, or Flowers. Last week JSN had the numbers, but remember, they were getting smoked by Baltimore, so they had to go out of their 2 tight end sets and go with 3 receiver sets. So JSN's on elevated snap count and elevated targets. That's not going to happen for them. They're a 2 tight end offense. He's going to play a lot. So I'm going to give Flowers the edge here. Carolyn, good morning to you as well. Standard 10 team. Tyler Boyd, Alexander Madison, Najee Harris. I'm going Najee. Under center running, which they tried last week. Najee looked really good. Been double-digit PPR points last 3 weeks, 15 and 2 of those. Going to go with him. Joshua, Javonte or James Conner? I'm going with Conner. Javonte is looking great. Conner has a better chance of scoring a touchdown, I believe. Sauger, good to see you. Oh, man, appreciate you. Always appreciate you, Sauger. Lucius Varinas. Try to send me a super chat. I think I got you. I think I covered you on that one, Lucius. Thank you, though. Cherie, you need 2 in the flex. Noah Brown, Khalil Shakir, Christian Watson, Jake Ferguson, or Jonnu Smith. We're going to go with Shakir. Shakir's getting volume. The slot matchup is nothing to be fearful of against his opponent, the Broncos, and Christian Watson's too tough to trust. It's less than 7 fantasy points in the last 3 games. Noah Brown last week was weird. Tampa Bay couldn't cover anybody. I think that changes drastically this week with Cincinnati. And we always love Jonnu Smith, right? He had that 60-yard screen pass last week, but we're going to go Jake Ferguson here. The red zone usage is real. I know there's a chance Dallas has a weird game script. They don't need him, but he's like their second option. And man, Dak's playing at high level. We're going to go Shakir and Ferguson there. Mike, Alexander Madison, Noah Brown, or George Pickens at the flex. I'm going with George Pickens. Squeaky wheel. He's going to get the ball more this week. And remember, he has a bunch of good games this year. When you look at his game log, I know last week was like 2 for -1, but and they can get him the ball. And this matchup is fine. Jair Alexander's out. They trade away Rasul Douglas. So it's a really good matchup for him. Jason, all right. Gabe Davis or George Pickens? I'm going with George Pickens. I think they both have similar upside, and I think Pickens has a higher floor. Gabe Davis is a great matchup because I think he sees a lot of Damari Mathis, and that's a huge mismatch. But he is just so volatile, and I know Pickens has been too, but I really think the squeaky wheel narrative is here. I think they're going to get him the ball. I really do believe that. Austin, half PPR, Jacoby Myers or Tank Dell. So I'm worried about Myers' matchup. Again, he's either going to see Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed. Oh, nice interception there. Mac Jones threw it to nobody. Not that I care. I'm not really interested in who wins the game. But did bet the under on the Patriots wins for the season. Not that that's going to be in any dire straits. But, yeah, looks like 2-8. All right, Austin Shane. We're going to go with Tank Dell here, I think. Again, boom bust. He's a total boom bust play. But Myers is a really bad matchup. And then Taysom Hill or Schultz. Schultz has had some really great games. Taysom Hill has been going off 4 games in a row. Until Taysom Hill doesn't do it, I got to play him. And Schultz is a very reasonable choice. It's a 50-50 on that. But I think the way Hill's usage has been, I have to assume it keeps going because why would they change it? So his floor is better than Schultz. Schultz can get that 2 for 17. The way Hill's being used, it's not likely. I'm going to go Taysom Hill. If your gut says Schultz, I get it. Zabby, half PPR. I'm going to go with London. He's healthy. Heineke's this type of YOLO quarterback he needs. And Chase looks like he's going to play, and so you're going to have to roll with him. Hi, Stroud or Murray? Stroud has a higher floor. I don't like his matchup, but he has a higher floor because Murray's coming back. Haven't seen him in almost a year. We don't know how his running's going to be. I'm optimistic. Murray's your boom bust play. If you need a high ceiling, I don't think Stroud has a ceiling game against Cincinnati. I think it's more like the 200-yard games we saw the prior 2. He's 40, blew for 470. So Murray's your boom bust, but Stroud's probably your safer floor. JSN, Warren, or Boyd? Matt, appreciate you, Ty. Boyd is facing Tavir Thomas. It's a really bad matchup, but he's a boom bust play because he could get a touchdown. He could get a big play. So we'll look at that, okay? But I think the floor play here is Warren. Again, you heard me talk about JSN. They're a 2 tight end offense. They were getting blown out, so they had to use 3 receivers. Those numbers were inflated because of that, not because of a great revelation by Pete Carroll, which he doesn't have a lot of those. Jason, 82. Hopkins, Garrett Wilson, and Jordan Addison. I'm going Hopkins and Garrett Wilson. Target volume's immense. Jordan Addison, he's got a bad matchup, and he's got Josh Dobbs, and I'm just going to go with Hopkins and Garrett Wilson. I'm going to go with the better players here. Douglas, hey, you as well. Watson, Judy, or JSN. I'm going to go Judy here. I think they're going to have to score some points against Buffalo, and Buffalo has not been good on defense. And we're going to go with him. JSN, you just heard me talking about the snap share. I don't think it's there. Watson hasn't cracked 7 PPR points in the last 3 games. I'm going to give Judy a shot here coming out of the bye. Tight end, I'm going to go Jonnu over K-Dot, and I don't like the matchup against Tennessee. I think the outside receivers have such an advantage that they're going to be able to, focus on them. So I'm going to go Jonnu Smith. Andy, I appreciate the very nice words. Thank you so much. KJ Frederick, good morning to you as well. Devin Singletary, Zach Charbonnet. Singletary should have more bankable usage. Charbonnet I don't like because Bobby Wagner and the interior run defense has been very good for Seattle. Jason, Romeo Dobbs or Quentin Johnston. I think the deep threat for him is going to be Jalen Guyton this week. He played 57% of the snaps for the Chargers. So I think that Quentin Johnson might not be in that role. I'm going to go with Romeo Doubs. Look, he doesn't always get a lot of targets, but he's used in the red zone. And I think he has a higher floor than Quentin Johnson. And again, he is a red zone favorite. So there's that. See if Gardner Minshew does anything here. Oh, wow. What a catch. Is that Downs? Josh Downs, what a beautiful boy. Both halves, big chain moving catches. Dude's playing on a bad knee. He's an impressive young player. Nancy, welcome. Thank you so much. Appreciate the wonderful words from you. Need 2 of the 3. Debo and Ayuk versus Jacksonville, or one of those and tank down. So I'm going to say this. Ayuk I would put in for sure. I think regardless of Jacksonville's quality of defensive pass protection, I think that we're going to see Ayuk in his versatile role be able to thrive. Now, Debo and Tank Dell are both more boom bust guys, but I think Debo coming off the injury should be fresh. And I'm going to give Debo an edge over Tank Dell because I think that Lou Anarumo was an answer. With Nico Collins out, it's like he's the guy they stop. And I think they have an answer for him. So I'm going to go Debo and Ayuk. And Jay Golub, same question. It's good. It's got 2 questions that kind of match up. We are going to go with Debo over Dell here because I think Debo always could blow up, and so can Dell. But I think Debo has a higher floor here. Nancy, you want Walker versus the Commanders or Mixon? I'm going to go with Mixon here. I still wonder if Walker is 100% on that calf, but Mixon, this matchup doesn't get better. Houston, the last time that they sold out to stop the runs against Atlanta, and Desmond Ridder carved him up for like 360 or something like that. They can't do that. And they know that. And against Joe Burrow, even with the receiver, if Chase is even hurt, they can't do it. So Mixon has a potential for a big game here. Walker, I just don't know he's 100%. And the interior, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, now Walker can get to the outside, so there's that. And that's always a possibility. But I think Mixon has a really good floor, and I think it could be one of those games where he can actually go off for you. So I'm going to give Mixon like a 55-45 edge. David, Pickens, let me see if I have any other. No, I got all the super chats caught up. David Harris, Pickens or McBride? I'm going with Pickens. Again, squeaky wheel. I believe they're getting the one. He has like 4 big games this year, and I think they get right back to that. No Rasul Douglas. They traded him away. No Jair Alexander. He's out. So I think that's a great matchup. Henry, you need a defensive special teams. Jonathan Taylor. Let's see. Nope. All right. You need Bucks, Falcons, or Vikings. I am going to go with the Vikings here. They're playing at home. They're playing Derek Carr on the road with the blitz. I could see some good things happening for the Vikings. I'm going to go with the Vikings. Not so silent majority. All right. Good to see you, Anthony. Welcome back. Jonnu Smith or Evan Ingram. So, yeah, I know. Evan Ingram, I checked the defensive game logs. Hockenson went off on San Francisco. Another good tight end. At the top of my head, there are 2 decent tight ends that had really good games against them. Evan Ingram's not a typical tight end. He doesn't run a typical tight end. They run a lot of drag routes. That's not the same thing. Fred Warner's defends the seam really well, and they don't really use Ingram in the seam. And Jonnu Smith, he gets good usage. Last week was a screen pass for 60 yards. It's 50-50, but I'm going to go with Evan Ingram. I think that they weaponize him differently than what San Francisco's. And we've had 2 tight ends have good success against them. So I'm going to go with that. Big Ham. Guillotine League. Need one. Jerome Ford, Singletary, or Charbonnet. So I think Singletary has the highest floor of these 3. I think Ford has the best chance of scoring a touchdown. So Ford has a little more upside, but lower floor. If you want the safest play, Singletary. Charbonnet, I'm worried about, especially when we got Bobby Wagner in the middle of that run defense, and Charbonnet's more of an inside guy. Andrea, have a great day to you as well. Thank you. And Lindorphins, thank you. Good luck to you. Let's see how we're doing on our questions. I got to rifle through these. We're at 10 after the hour. So I'm gonna go through these a little more quickly than usual, but I'll get to everybody. Okay. All right, Chris. Good morning to you. Flex PPR McBride, Irwin. Irwin and Shakir are very, very close. That's a coin flip between them. I think Irwin may have a better chance of scoring a touchdown, but I think the Bills may have a higher team scoring total. So it's between those. I'm giving Irwin a slight edge, but if your gut says Shakir, go with that. Tracy, welcome back. You got Murray or Otten. Murray just has not been getting it done. I don't like Otten's matchup, but I think he gets more production than Murray here. I'm going to go with him. Roman, Mark Andrews or Laporta. Laporta has a great matchup. Andrews played really well against Cleveland last time. I'm going to give Andrews the edge here. Rahendra, pick one, full PPR. Cook, Ford, or Najee. I'm going with Najee here. He has played well the last 3 games, and I think that continues here against Green Bay. Delroy, Dobbs, or Howell. I'm going to go with Howell here. Dobbs is a really rough matchup. All right. Austin, rest of schedule, Khalil Herbert or Gus Edwards. I think Foreman earned a role going forward. I think that's good. I think Herbert was only getting like 9 carries a game as it was. I'm gonna go Gus Edwards. Jay Golub, need 2. Andrews, Deontay, Dell, or Debo. I am going with Andrews and Debo in this situation. Big Ham, Levis, or Carr. Carr on the road against that blitz, but Levis is going to see a lot of blitz. I am going to give a slight edge to Carr in this one. Uncle Ted, Jalen Tolbert, the wide receiver to add. Yes, they do need a wide receiver too very badly. Roman, Mark Andrews, or Laporte. I think we answered you. We said Mark Andrews. Harlan, good morning to you as well as today. I think we answered that one for you. Zach, is Chase a must start? I have to. If he's in the lineup, he could get a 0. But if he gets 30, you're going to kick yourself. I would start Hockenson over Ferguson. There's a lot of cases where Ferguson might not be needed if Dallas gets a big lead early. And Hockenson, look, he's injured, but he's playing, and they're all hurt this time of year, right? Not so silent majority. Yep. Minshew should have tunnel vision for, but he dashed down. So, but you're right. Good call. Not so silent majority. Lockett or Najigba. Big Ham. Najigba's snap share last week had to do with them trailing by about 30 points. And so they're a 2 tight end offense. So let's lock it. Sleek, Calvin Ridley, Javonte Williams, or Montgomery. We're definitely going Montgomery. I assume his role is back. Williams, I think, has a much safer floor than Ridley, so I'll go with him. Brian Upton, although Goff is not at home, SoFi Stadium he used to be at, and he got run out of town by Sean McVay, right? Oh, my gosh. Not so silent majority. Appreciate you. A&J Films, Ayuk or Dell. Ayuk, I think, has a much higher floor, and I think he has a similar ceiling, so I'm going to go with Ayuk. Juan, can we trust Chase, or is he better pick up DK? Well, if you're talking about starting DK over Chase with Chase's back hurt, I think DK could have a ceiling game here because he has a great mismatch. So I could see that. Joshua Deller, Deontay Johnson. So Deontay Johnson is your floor play. Probably gets you 12 PPR points. Tank Dell is your boom bust. I could see him getting stopped, but I also could see him going off. So Deontay safe. You want to risk, it's Tank Dell. Big Ham, Olave or Taysom Hill. Oh, man. Taysom Hill's been so dang good. He's been better than Olave the last 4 weeks. But, man, Olave could have that game, but Hill's had that game. Until Hill doesn't show it, I got to play Hill. Oh, my God. It's like Hill over Olave. I don't even get that. But you're right. Don't even comprehend it. But right now, the way Taysom Hill's outscored him each of those games. So I assume it continues. All right, let's see. Andrews or Debo. Andrews is so good against Cleveland last night. He had a good game. 51-49 Andrews. JSN or Flowers. Jack Gold. We're going with Flowers in this one. Bubba, good morning to you as well. Thank you so much. PPR need 2 to following. Mims, Keaton, Mitchell. We got to go Keaton, Mitchell. I think for the upside. Mims, they said in week 3 he was getting more work, and he never did. They said this week. I don't believe it till I see it. We're going Mitchell. We're going for the upside. All right, Delroy, Irwin, Shakir. And Samuel, I don't know these 100%, so maybe Shakir and Irwin are like dead equal. I think Shakir probably gets a 51-49 edge in this one because they probably score more points. But either of those works. Shakir probably, but Irwin may have a safer floor. Javonte or Madison. Kevin, we're going to go Javonte. Madison is a bad matchup. Purdy or CJ. Rahendra, Purdy has a safer floor. CJ is your boom bust guy. I think there's a good chance he gets shut down by Cincinnati, but he's proven to beat the odds many times before. I got a super chat question when we get in a second here. Who got the catch there? Hunter Henry, maybe? I don't know. All right. So Purdy's your floor play. Your boom bust is CJ. I probably trust the floor of Purdy. Got a super chat here. Not so silent majority. Oh, man. Thank you so much. Very nice of you. Appreciate you. All right. Let's see where all right, good. Adrian Flores. Half PPR got to sit one. Devontae Adams, Tyler Lockett, Drake Leonard, John Dotson. Wow. It's always tough with Devontae Adams. We know he's like a superstar, but he's not getting any production at all. And they're playing the Jets. I'm going to sit Devontae Adams. Oh, I can't believe I just said that. Admiral Nita, you're welcome. Torch Lake Kid, start 2. Dell, Olave, Debo, Lockett. I'm going Debo and Olave, but if you want to go boom bust, then I would play Dell over Olave if you want to go boom bust. But I would probably trust Olave and Debo the best in this one. Pick one for your flex. McLaurin and DK or White. I love DK's matchup. I'm going to go with DK here. I don't expect much of a pass rush, and I expect him to easily win his corner matchup. Roman, Laporta or Andrews. We are going with Andrews in this one. Emperor KJ, I have a lot of B's on your line. I think this week is a good week for him. Arizona is not a good defense. Tracy, have a great day as well. Delroy, Atlanta defense or Minnesota defense. We're going to go Minnesota defense. Derek Carr should be under a lot of pressure here. And, okay, let's see. Admiral, a better stash. Kyle Pitts or Khalil Herbert. Since you have Laporta, I think Herbert's your better stash. We don't know what his role is going to be. I think Foreman got one, but if Herbert does get the lead role, the running back's more valuable than the tight end. Lucius, Gore, Gibson, or Singletary. Singletary is a safer floor, and I don't think that the ceiling for Gibson is enough to justify it. So we're going to go Singletary. John, you're welcome. Okay, get yours clicked on here. Oh, there it goes. Jordan, morning to you as well. Need one for a flex. Pickens, Dotson, or we're going Pickens. Squeaky wheel narrative. I think he gets the ball here. Give me 1 second. I'm stepping away for 5 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay, just had to change the switch on that. All right. Jason, Singletary, Jacoby, or Christian Watson. Singletary has the best floor. Jacoby has a really rugged matchup here. So I'm worried about that for him. Christian Watson just not scoring any points. Watson will be your boom bust. He could get a big play. So Singletary is your safe floor play. If you really want to go boom bust, because there's a low bust potential, big bust, but so that would be Watson. Jay Galoob, Rashad Connor. White doesn't have a great matchup as a receiver this week. Tennessee doesn't give much yardage to receiving running backs, and that's where he makes his hay. Oh, another pick for Mac Jones. Beautiful. Frenzy MS, need a tight end. Trust Hockenson with injury or play Ferguson or Taysom Hill. I'd play Taysom Hill. If that's your case, because he scored 18 plus PPR points about 4 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row. Until he does, and Hawkins is great, but yeah, given that choice, yeah, I would go with that. Game over. Yes, for sure it is. And Admiral Nito, you're welcome. Adrian Flores, thank you. Have a great day as well. Matt Hill or Ingram. Look, love Ingram. Not the best matchup. Gonna go with Taysom Hill, who's had 4 weeks of great usage. Frenzy, thank you so much. Appreciate you greatly. And that was Zappy. They took out. See, I've been doing the stream, so I didn't even see that. I'm just kind of like rolling here. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to watch it the corner. I barely saw it. Chad, does Bill O'Brien survive the week? Yeah, they need a whole blow up. Thanks everybody. Good luck today. We will talk soon.